As for what the teachers are teaching them, I can only imagine that the teachers who are maybe more media savvy, more sort of career psychics and mediums, are very aware of what's going on and very aware of what the tricks are. But it's difficult to tell. But yes,
I've heard it suggested that sometimes these rather lucrative acts that people put on of psychic divination and things often start out as a kind of folie à deux, that somebody and his partner or his father or something kind of manage to convince each other that they can do something that they can't, and they sort of rev each other up. And then when they sort of realise that they're not quite as good as they thought, they kind of, each one tries to help the other one, because they in some sense genuinely believe it. Have you ever come across that?
And are you talking about psychic performers?
So I think I'm talking about psychic performers who actually use conjuring tricks and pretend that they're not, but still kind of half believe in that they really are psychic, because once they had a really good success, which was a genuine accident or something, and so they're encouraged by this folie à deux partnership, and maybe the partner rigs it so that even the performer thinks he's getting hits which he's really not, that kind of thing.
I think the more common route, I think there are two common routes. One is the magician who crosses over to the dark side, who knows what he's doing but realises there's more money to be made in psychic readings than there is in doing tricks.
We all know examples of that.
We all know examples of that, but there's plenty of that around.
Yeah.
The other route, the sort of the stage medium, going back to sort of Doris Stokes very famously, are sort of normally from showbiz stock, have normally been taught the skills by people from that world that just see it as part of performance, as part of showbiz. And again, I think those are skills that are then turned rather ugly. But that's a very common route as well. I think very rarely, I think, is there any real belief in it, other than the fact that if you are spending your life lying to people, how do you deal with that other than rationalise it in your own head after a while and decide, well, I do kind of believe in it, and I do believe that intuition, it may not be psychic, but I do believe that I'm intuitive, and that maybe that does give me an insight and it comforts people. And you start to rationalise it and maybe create a sort of a loose belief around it that follows after the fact. But I think very few people get into it at that level from any kind of sincere beginnings.
They do make a lot more money by pretending to be psychic than they do by frankly admitting that they are conjurers.
Yes, it's a huge racket. And there's a very fine line to be tread. I mean, in my world, I'm sort of, on the one hand, trying to create a magic illusion, on the other hand, wanting to be honest about it as well and kind of show people a bit of what it is. It's a difficult line to tread, and I think if you're morally really not too fussed about it, it comes down to, a lot of the justification that psychics give is that it comforts people. And my feeling on that is, well, if they're lies, who are you to decide that your lies are what people need to hear to comfort them? And I think it's a twisted logic. And I think that the reason is, if you've lost somebody dear to you, and I'm trampling all over those memories by telling you that they're here now saying this and that. I mean, that's none of my business. And if I'm just doing it because I can earn some money out of it, and when you watch these people at work, so much of it is ego. I mean, some of the mediums at these spiritualists, especially the ones that aren't so good, they just look like second-rate stage hypnotists that you might see in a pub or in Corfu or something. It's horrendous, and it's that I find really quite ugly.
Michael Shermer, in one of his books, has a story about how he was on stage with a medium who was calling up spirits and talking to people about what their dead relatives said. And Shermer unmasked it. He explained on stage about cold reading, told the audience how it was done. And afterwards, several people in the audience came up absolutely furious with him because he had shattered their illusions. And they seemed... It wasn't because he shattered other people's illusions, it was that he shattered theirs. I mean, somehow it was thought to be cruel when people were deriving comfort and consolation from being deceived in this way. It was cruel to break that deception.
It's a question of sensitivity, isn't it? I mean, I think in the bigger picture, it's crueler to be taken in by that deception. It's crueler if you're somebody who has I've known cases of people that have lost a child that's so dear to them, and they cannot get over the fact they've lost the child and become addicted to these charlatans, for want of a better word, and that to me is as cruel as it can be. Now, how you handle, I don't see it as a mission to, turn every believer into a non-believer, but I think it's important to get that message out so people can take it on board and understand it and have more information, because if you have more information you can make better decisions. But on an individual basis, I think, yes, you have to be terribly sensitive in how you handle that. And I think maybe sometimes in some desperate situations you decide, well, maybe it's better left. Maybe that person should just have that illusion and live with it. I don't know.
I'm going to go to a séance where a medium will no doubt call up dead relatives of people in the audience and things. And can you give me some tips to what to look out for? What kind of tricks to be aware of? Because I'm naive in this. I'm untrained, and it would be good to have some sort of psychology wisdom to look out for.
I think you'll find it probably disappointingly transparent. I think with spiritualist services, a big difference is that the medium doesn't really have to do any work because he's got a whole room of believers. And that's the difference. If you approach any psychic with any sort of skepticism, you'll see through pretty much all of it unless they happen to get lucky, If you go there as a believer, of course you're going to want to make everything fit. And if you're going to a church service every Tuesday, or I think it's normally Tuesday they do these things on, and you're desperate, maybe this will be the week that the medium will get in touch with Albert or whoever, whoever I've lost. You'll do everything to grab at it. So they don't have to really do a lot of work. And if it's something you also have to be aware of, if it's a group that the medium is familiar with, he'll know a lot of their stories already. And a very common thing with TV psychics is that when the cameras are off, they have a chat with people in the audience and find out who would like someone to come there. Anybody I should be looking at.
As transparent as that, is it? I mean, they don't even have stooges in the audience to even do it themselves.
What they often do is they bring their own clients with them. They say, come along to the filming because I think something's really going to come through on that day.
Oh, right.
Pick the ones that cry a lot and bring them along on filming. But very commonly, before filming starts, they come out, have a chat with the audience, because they're all believers. Is there anybody you've lost someone who drowned, and okay, well, if anybody comes through that's drowned, I'll know that'll be for you. Okay. So much that work is done.
It's just so easy, isn't it, when you think about it?
Oh, it's tremendous. Yeah. When you're then actually doing when you're there and the thing is happening, the things to listen out for, it varies from medium to medium, and they all have their different styles. The best ones just keep talking. They know the value of just really not stopping and just bulldozing over any response from the audience. The worst ones pause too much. They get in too much discussion. They're found out. It's creating the illusion to the whole room that the medium's hitting one thing after another. Whereas if you really pay attention to what the person's saying, very often you'll just see they look a bit bemused and a bit bewildered. That does tend to happen. Again, depends on the style of the medium. The most common pattern is going to be throwing out a sort of a half statement, that kind of thing of, have you lost, maybe throwing out a name is the simplest thing. I'm getting the name Albert. Does that mean anything? Can anybody find that for me? Albert, someone over here, or is it the lady over there? Then, and then the person in the audience will supply the information back. Yes, that was my husband. Okay. And then you get the medium will add that information. Now she knows it's the husband, whereas it could have been anything. It could have been the name of the person in the audience, Albert. It could have been a friend of yours in the audience. It could have been someone that died. It could have been anything. But now she knows it's the husband. She then feeds that back, or he feeds that back by saying, that's right, it's your husband here, and he's telling me that, you're a lovely wife, and moves on, as if he'd said it was the husband itself, but he hadn't. Yes. And that is a very common pattern all the way through. You get a statement that's made that's vague. I'm seeing something to do with an accident maybe involving water. You go, yes, that's right, when I was young. And he goes, that's right, he's showing me when you were a kid, and he's saying that he was, even there, he was there looking after you even when that happened. And you're amazed that he's picked up on this memory. Or you say, yes, that's right, the dead person died because of an accident in water. And then I'll say, yes, that's right, he's telling me that that's how he passed away, that he drowned. And I'll turn whatever you say. So I throw out some words, you give me the meaning, and then I carry on, I reiterate, I feed that back to you as if that's what I intended from the start.